Alright guys, do a video on a new gun I got. Not this one. The reason this is out here is because it's going to lead into the new gun I got. This is one of the guns that was actually on my bucket list of guns. I missed out on my #1 gun, which is actually a Webley Fosbury. I hope to one day acquire that. I was the second highest bidder on an auction before I got scared out because I was like, wow, I could buy myself a pretty decent used car with the amount of money I was trying to throw at that Webley. But the #2 gun showed up, and it's also MATEBA. You might recognize this as the MATEBA UNICA. Fairly modern, probably from the 80s or so, I guess. Made by MATEBA, which is Macchina Termoballistica out of Italy. Designed by Emilio Ghisoni, the guy whose design we see now in the CHIAPPA RHINO, which is an ugly gun. This is also a pretty ugly gun. It's that auto revolver that we know about, where the whole top is a slide, and it rotates the cylinder, cocks the hammer each time you fire the gun. Kind of neat. 44 Magnum, not very fun to shoot. This one does have these nice grips I got off a gun broker from a dealer there to replace the walnut grips. That's a shortcoming on this gun. The grips aren't well seated. The walnut grips crushed in my hands. Took them to a gunsmith out here in Virginia. He did a horrible job, and fortunately this guy out in California, believe it or not, I think, came out with these plastic or polymer grips with a aluminium core in the middle. They will not break, I don't think. Took this out to the range. Slight problem with this, I guess problem with all MATEBAs, especially on that new one too, is that they have this weird metal on metal tightening, and these shrouds in the barrel, they can come loose. And in this case, I did have some loosening after firing it, which meant I ended up getting I got two misfires. So after I fired it, I retightened everything, and everything was right in its rein after that. But I guess the rule of thumb here is after you fire your MATEBAs a couple times, retighten everything, and then have at it. Enjoy. Alright, so if this ain't the gun, what is it? Here we are. A little more rare than this. This, they say there's a couple thousand in the States. This, they say there might be about 10 of them in the United States. What is this thing? This is a MATEBA MTR-8. Older than the UNICA, and it doesn't have that weird, funky auto revolver system, but it is weird, and it is kind of funky. It usually makes like the top 10 of the 10 ugliest guns in the world list. And it's obviously a revolver. It's got a weird steampunk look to it, you know, like, I guess that's the term everybody's using nowadays, steampunk. Well, the UNICA has that also. It's, you know, kind of futuristic, kind of retro. Somebody says, wow, these things look like they're out of Blade Runner. I guess that's a good way of looking at it. So what is this? Well, this is a sports revolver, you know. I guess if you're going to do some sports competition. Why do we say that? Look at this. Oh, you can see right off the bat how weird it is. The cylinder, which is normally above the hand, you know, on a typical revolver, it's moved in front of the fist. And the barrel, look at this funky little barrel. It's only got, I don't know, like 2.5 inches here. That's also been moved straight in front of the fist. And the reason is that when you're going to fire this thing, everything's lined up with your arm, so there's going to be a little flip. You're just going to absorb most of that, so you'll stay right on target. You can do multiple shots down the line. I mean, even the trigger looks kind of weird. It looks almost like this is a slide, like it's on a 1911, but there's a bit of a hinge to it. And, well, here, let's take a look at this. How do you open up the cylinder? You know, normally the cylinder catch is somewhere around here. It's actually part of the crane here. So you pull that down here, right here, and that can slide out your cylinder. And you actually have to use these weird moon clips. There's no rim on here for your 38 specials, and this will not shoot 30-57 Magnum. It's 38 special only gun. So you have to actually use this this moon clip that has the rims on it. It's got a little tiny lock here. You pop that or you twist that. Let's see if we can do this. And there you go. You fill it up with 8 shots. It's an 8-shot revolver. You close it, you lock it, and then you're supposedly, I guess, going to have a bunch of these lying around so you can pop them in and out. And I mean, look, there's these little weird spokes on this on the cylinder. Let's see if we can see that from the side. Maybe not. There you go. There you can see them a bit. And that has to match up with these like 8 holes here on the moon clip before it can actually slide in. But look at that. I mean, it's a pretty heavy gun, and a lot of weight's in the front, so there is going to be a lot of buffering against any muzzle flip. And you know, since all the trigger work's internal, you know, how do you cock the hammer and all that? Well, it's kind of neat. You know, lucky for me, I'm being left-handed. They made it ambidextrous. They got these, I guess, for lack of a better term, I'd say they're like motorcycle kickstarters. Look at that. You just yank it down like you're starting up a motorcycle. If you can see it from this side, you'll actually notice that it uses it. All the parts are external. You know, the advancer will function now when I pull this thing. So I'm going to pull this. Junk. Isn't that neat? You see the little arm, I guess, move down the cylinder, rotate the cylinder, and get the gun prepped for firing. And you can use these to uncock it. It's some sort of a decocker. But light trigger, obviously. And even when you're doing it in double action, it feels great. But I mean, it's like almost, you know, here's the idea of steampunk. It looks like a steam locomotive on the outside, I guess. One thing I'll say, like that MATEBA say UNICA here, you know, that metal on metal tightening, not a good design. There should have been some sort of O-ring buffer or something. I don't know. This is actually a lock screw for this shroud. And the first time I was shooting this thing, it came loose. Shroud flipped upside down and then came off. At first I thought I'd lost the sight, and then I thought I'd lost half the gun. Fortunately I found it in amidst all the brass in my lane. And I was like, okay, we kind of avoided a couple $1,000 mistake here. But yeah, I guess once again the rule of thumb, you know, shoot it a little bit and make sure you bring your little toolkit out to the range if you have any MATEBAs and retighten everything when you're out there. Anyway, this gun is remarkably precise once you get it centered. I mean, look at this weird way of doing the front. The front sight's actually on the shroud, and the windage and all that stuff is taken. It's just done by twisting it, you know, clockwise, counterclockwise, whatever. And then the rear sights are they're fixed. They're molded into the frame. You know, I don't ever see finding a holster for this thing. I don't see carrying this. I'll take it to the range sparingly. I mean, look at the grips. Once again, the grips on this thing were horrible. I had to get them replaced. I don't think I'll ever find a replacement for these. I mean, as I said, maybe 10 of these in the United States. The last seller that was selling one of these was selling them out of Switzerland, and he actually had the configuration where it had a long barrel and shroud, and it had a stock, and it turned out to be a short barrel rifle. And I asked around, and they said importing Class 3 weapons into the United States pretty much impossible. You can import guns from overseas, and they'll take a bit of a doing. You have to find the right FFL dealer to do the importing and all that stuff. And but importing a Class 3, they said, you know, you're better off just forgetting it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I really like this gun. I love how it looks. I love how it handles. As I said, I took it to the range, and it shoots 38 special, so I was actually blasting this thing a lot more than I was shooting with this thing. And you could this one you'll definitely double tap with. This one, you could get pretty darn close to it. Well, hope you enjoyed. Ciao.